for First Take starts now.
Yeah, I'm not really going to talk about it. It's behind me. I'm just trying to start a new page, a new chapter, and I'm gonna thank, this Cowboys organization for being behind me. Thank my family and my team and my friends for just supporting me through the time, and especially the Cowboys fans who stuck by me through this tough time and have a lot of faith in me. But I'm not talking about it anymore. This is gonna be the last time you hear me speak about it.
You're not going to talk about the prospect. Can you talk about what you did the last 6 weeks?
No. I'm ready to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. I'm ready to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not speaking on it anymore.
Why is it that you don't want to talk about that 6-week stretch?
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Zeke's back, and he's keeping it short. He is on to the next one, fellas. Darren Woodson, Will Kane join us now. Hi, guys.
Morning.
Darren, I'll start with you. You're the former player, former Cowboy. Do you have a problem with how Zeke handled the media there?
I thought he was great. Honestly, I did. He kept it short, kept it quick, and I'm sure Rich Dalrymple, who's the head of PR over with the Dallas Cowboys and who's been through a lot, especially in the 90s. He was, head of PR in the 90s with all the personalities in. So he understood exactly the message that needed to be portrayed and where the narrative needed to go. And I'm sure that was a conversation before Zeke got in front of the cameras. And I thought he handled it well. He thanked the right people. He thanked the organization. He thanked his family. But he did not want to go down that road of all those questions that were going to be have to be asked of him on that day. He wanted to focus on exactly what was in front of them, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. So I thought he handled it great.
Well,
yeah, I'll take it, fellas. Wow, Darren, great. I wish I could go that far, man. I think he handled it fine. Great, not as far as I can go. The truth of the matter is I thought he was a little defensive. I understand keeping it short. And, Darren, you have more experience than I do of getting advice from a public relations official, how a public relations office would tell you how to shut it down. And you're probably right. If Zeke opens the door just a crack, just a little bit, this is what I've been doing for the last 6 weeks, it's going to be followed with questions that go back further and further and further into the timeline. But I would trust Zeke. See, the thing is, I think most of the questions he was asked in that short 90 seconds were pretty benign. How'd you handle the last 6 weeks? I think it was, what were you doing running on the beach in Cabo? What kind of shape are you in? Did you reevaluate anything? Have you grown? Have you matured? And I think he could have answered those questions and kept it to that without revisiting the suspension part, the trial part that never happened, the Roger Goodell investigation part. I think he could have avoided that while still giving a little more. I think he did fine. He shut it down. But he could have been great by suggesting, yeah, I reflected. Yeah, I've grown. No, I'm not guilty. Yes, I'm in great shape. I think it could have gone that way as well.
You're already in dangerous territory there, Will. As an attorney, you should know that. You only answer the questions you're asked. But in this case, and Stephen A., you were right from earlier because the reporter did specifically say, what have you been doing over the last 6 weeks? But here is it seems to me, the big piece of advice, not that hard to read between the lines here, that whoever in PR or on his team advised him, just keep this as the rule of thumb. Any question that looks back, don't answer it. Only look forward. So as soon as they say last 6 weeks, that triggers the arrow of time is pointing in the wrong way. I'll only look forward. It seems to me pretty clearly that's the advice he got, and he stuck to it.
Darren Woodson, I'm going to go to you and ask you a simple question before I give you my take. At any time, did you hear Ezekiel Elliott apologize to the Dallas Cowboys, to Cowboy Nation, for even finding himself in this situation and costing himself 6 games?
We didn't.
Well, then, rhetorically, I would ask, how can we think that he handled things fine? Because the Dallas Cowboys were 3-3 without him. With him, I think they would have been better than 3-3. The Dallas Cowboys are on the verge of missing the playoffs, needing help to get into the postseason. I think with him, I don't think we have that problem. I think they would have been a sure bet to be playing into the postseason. So essentially, even without getting into guilt or innocence, because again, I'm on the record stating that the NFL has no business being in that business, trying to determine the guilt or innocence of anyone. They're not law enforcement. I don't like that one bit. The flip side to it is because of the position that he found himself in, for whatever reason, it has cost the Dallas Cowboys. Now, when you look at the reporters, I totally agree with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not talking about the incident anymore. I've been waiting for this legal issue to get behind me all this time. I totally applaud that. But like Will said, I learned from it. I promise you that ain't going to be a situation again. Look at what I cost my team thus far. I owe them all that I have to give. But when you show no level of contrition whatsoever, walking around with your chest out like I'm back and I don't have to worry about this no more, all of y'all kick rocks, go someplace I could give a damn about what any of y'all have to say, then you not only have to ball, but now the pressure's on you to be a model citizen as well, because everything that you do is going to be on that microscope, in part because you've shown no contrition whatsoever.
I don't think he came from a position of arrogance. To me, he didn't look like he was coming from a position of arrogance. He sounded like he was answering the questions. He did not want to go back. He wanted to move forward. And he is on the record in that building with the Cowboy players as far as being apologetic for the situation that he's put his team in. I mean, does he owe everyone, the fan base, an apology as well? Should he have that apology ready for him?
To your fan base, yeah.
No, but not right then and there. Maybe at some point down the line, but he's in front of his locker. He's probably just got out of a meeting. The cameras are in front of him. Rich Dalrymple probably stopped him before he walked in the locker room and said, hey, here's a narrative. We want to keep it this way. Let's keep this brief and let's move on. He probably had that conversation. He walked out there. Didn't think. I mean, as a 22 or 23-year-old kid who's going to get up there and have this, narrative of this is what I want to say. This is how I'm going to apologize.
I'm not asking him to get in depth about it. That's not what I'm saying.
Just keep it easy, keep it quick, and move forward.
Well, you bring up Rich Dalrymple.
I didn't hear contempt.
Max, let me come to you with this, because let me say this. This is the last thing I'm going to say about it. You can go into PR all you want to, Darren, but it's PR with any place. It's almost like an HR department. They want you to look good at that particular moment in time to get through a situation and to help the company. Now, they don't want you to hurt yourself, but their interest is the company, and it's not necessarily you. So, again, that advice that Rich Dalrymple may have given him, it may work for Ezekiel Elliott in the moment, but the grander picture, I'm not so sure.
I really appreciate that point, Stephen A., but I didn't hear what you heard in terms of the arrogance. I agree with Darren here and Will. I'm curious about your perception of this, because I did not, if I would have seen contempt from Ezekiel Elliott towards his, interrogators, right, I would say that's not a good look. I didn't see that. I saw a guy trying to do the right thing, make a choice between two bad options. That's what he was told, and that's what he was going to do.
Max, I didn't see arrogance. I mean, Stephen A. may have seen arrogance. I didn't see that. I might have seen
dismissiveness.
I might have seen a little defensiveness. Is that what you just said, Stephen A.? A little.
I said dismissiveness, but I got it.
Defensiveness. Here's the thing. Here's what I would have said if I were Rich Dalrymple, and this guy has way more experiences than I do because I don't filter things through public relations anyway. I just tell you the way I think it. But if you're right, Max, draw a bright line. Arrow pointed forwards, not backwards. I would have just said, draw the bright line from the moment at which you started your suspension. In other words, you can tell people how you've spent your last 6 weeks. Don't revisit the incidents. Don't revisit the investigation. Don't revisit Roger Goodell. But you can talk about what you've been doing, how you've grown, how you've matured. You can talk about your physical training. You can point the arrow forward from that moment.
I don't know. He's got a lot on his shoulders. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs. What was that, Max?
Will, I was just going to ask Will, as a defense attorney, if you are prepping your witness and you see the answers he gives, you're like, oh, that's going to work. And time and again, he's saying things. Maybe you move that timeline forward and say, just concentrate on the future.
I can't know that. I can't know that. Maybe.
No, clearly an important week for them. We know big game Saturday, guys. I don't know if we'll be able to find either of you on Monday. We'll see. Cam Newton making more headlines with what he said. Will and Darren will react to it after the break. They're sticking around. And the Legion of Boom manhandled on Sunday by those young Rams. You don't want to miss what Max has to say